Hello and welcome to the Living Legacy series from Of Thee I Sing American Heritage Through Song. Now in its second season, this program is made possible in part by the Indiana Arts Commission, which receives support from the state of Indiana and the National Endowment for the Arts. The mission of Thee I Sing is to bring American heritage to life through music, and a cornerstone of this mission is the support and championing of living American composers, because they are the living legacy of our nation's musical heritage and culture. This series features a different living American composer and one of his or her settings of an American text in each month's episode, bringing our national treasury of poetry to the forefront as well. I believe deeply in our nation's music and poetry, and it is an honor to be an ambassador of this music with the mission of bringing people together through the power of song. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome composer Juliana Hall to the program. Juliana Hall's compositions have been called brilliant by the Washington Post, beguiling by the Times of London, and strikingly original by the Austin Chronicle. She studied under renowned vocal composer Dominick Argento, and her first commission was from the Schubert Club of St. Paul to compose a song cycle for the then up-and-coming soprano Dawn Upshaw. In 1989, Hall received another Schubert Club commission, this time a song cycle for Metropolitan Opera baritone David Malus, and she was awarded a Guggenheim Fellowship that year as well. Hall's music has been broadcast over the BBC and NPR radio networks, as well as classical music radio stations around the world, and has been performed by more than 500 musicians in 30 countries on 6 continents. Please join me in welcoming composer Juliana Hall. Juliana, welcome. It is such an honor to have you on this program.
Oh, thank you. And it's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for asking me.
Oh, of course. And so after having just shared your amazing biography, career trajectory with everyone, I'd love to know where this all started for you. This is a question I really love asking each composer because there are things that are different. There are things that we see recurring, which are a wonderful way to let our audiences know how important music is in the early stages, but everybody has a different special story. So I would just love to know for you early influences from as a young child or young adult that have led you to the career path that you've been on.
I started very early. My mother was a pianist. I grew up in a little town, and there wasn't a lot of music, but my mom loved playing the piano, and she wanted me to be a pianist as well. And she was my teacher really until I was about 13. And then I went to Cincinnati, the conservatory, and studied from there on. So piano was very, very important to me. But as I was playing the piano so very much and enjoying it, I was also, for some reason, pretty good at English and poetry and drama. I loved drama and theater. And it all kind of worked together in a way that I really wasn't sure was I didn't know exactly how it would work out. Mm-hmm. But now I can look back and say, oh, yes, now I see, because art song involves drama and storytelling and poetry and piano. And so it all started making sense. But it was just mostly through my mom. With the piano, I think was the very, very strongest influence.
Wow. And that is so special. And I'm thinking of, as we all, go through our developmental stages as children. And you said until about 13, and I'm thinking, wow, that is a special relationship to have sustained itself through that early, present time. I'm thinking there were times, I love my mom and I are very close, but would I have wanted to take instruction from her at around 11, 12, 13? That really says a lot about your beautiful relationship as well as what music meant to both of you in the way that you shared it. So thank you for sharing that. That's such a lovely image. And my goodness, the song that we'll be talking about later, I just think could not be more fitting based on what you just us.
Yes, I very much related to what Edna was speaking about when she was speaking of her mother.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you. That's a very special memory that I really feel honored that you felt comfortable sharing with us. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
And so that also started to speak to this next question. You do write for a variety of instrumentations, not only voice and piano, but also for solo instruments and for some other instruments accompanied. But it really sounds like this merging of that theater and that drama, the English literature and things of that
Mhm.
nature are what drew, is that right? What really drew you to that art song composition form?
Oh, very much indeed. I love poetry. And since I've been writing, I've fallen deeper and deeper into that world. And I love it, oh, much more every day. But
Yes.
what happened, I was at Yale grad school, and I was still studying to be a pianist because really I didn't know still yet how the drama and English fit
Mhm.
in to my work. But by chance, I took composition lessons as an elective.
Mhm.
And by chance again, I had a singer friend who said, "Hey, let's get together and do some new pieces."
Oh, that's great.
And I just started writing songs. And then another occurrence happened. A friend of mine said, "Would you set some Emily Dickinson for me?" And you know, it just happened, as so many things in life do. They just bring you to that point where you've been looking, been wondering, but then it all kind of comes together. I was at Yale. I had a wonderful, wonderful composition teacher, and then the other faculty encouraged me to make that switch to
Mhm.
right then to composition. And I was so surprised because I really hadn't thought about it as being real,
Yes.
but because of that, I stayed with it. And because of that little surprise, I wanted to know for myself if this was true. So I kept writing songs and feeling better and better and more comfy. And
Oh,
then, the world started opening up to me as a song composer. So it
that
worked out very well, and I'm very thankful.
oh yes, absolutely. Well, that because that at that point you were a graduate student, right? Yale was your graduate studies after Cincinnati, is that correct?
Right, right.
Oh,
Yes.
I mean, I remember from my own graduate studies the without getting frantic about it, the urgency of time. That those were the 2 years where
Yeah.
you had had your bachelor's, you had had that real core foundation, and this was that kind of transitional time of then launching you out into the professional world. So I could certainly see some of the stress there. But wait, just a minute now. I'm here for piano, and I know my course, that I'm ready to proceed accordingly. But it sounds like you had just the right type of guidance, and that those instructors both really loved and supported you, but also respected each other in a way that worked beautifully to create a situation in which you were comfortable making quite a significant shift in
Oh,
your career trajectory. Wow. That's so beautiful that you were not only got that external, but also it sounds like that internal feeling of reassurance that yes, this is right. And yes, all of these pieces are falling into place, pieces that maybe you enjoyed before, but the legitimate place that they would hold for you in your professional career maybe was not as apparent. And then all of those things started to fall together. I just love that that happened for you and that that was your experience. That's wonderful.
thank you. And I am very thankful for that too. Sometimes timing really makes a difference
Absolutely.
in, where you are in life and what life brings you at the certain points. So I'm
Yeah.
very grateful.
Oh, definitely. Well, and I love that we have opportunities here to give that thanks and that gratitude to those past mentors, and then we're able to see the way that that each composer, in their own special way, lives on and honors those things. And so, speaking of, so you had a wonderful support network at Yale, and then from there you began some work, and I'd love to know the details on how this relationship was initiated. But with Dominick Argento, when I read that in your bio, biography. I'm sure everyone that reads that in your biography that is a musician says, "Oh, wow." So I would just love to know anything that you would like to relate to us about that relationship and how that relationship and how that guidance has continued to inform your compositions.
Sure. Um, well, as we said, I was new to composition. I had studied for 2 years, and I really didn't know what would be coming next. But the Yale professors, the composers there, once again had wonderful guidance. They said, Dominick Argento, I think he's in Minneapolis, and he writes songs, he writes vocal music. You should go there. So I followed their advice again because I felt like they really have helped me so much find the exact right direction. And when something clicks in, it's magic.
Yes.
And I felt like that happened again with Dominick and myself. We became friends. I mean, there was just he would make me laugh in lessons, and we would talk about poetry and we would talk about literature. He knows it. He knew it so well, and he thought about all kinds of how the singer would feel if the singer would, he knew the voice so well too. His wife was a singer. So, I was exactly in the right place at the right time once again. And it was just really wonderful for me. He, since then, since I was studying with him, I moved back to New Haven. And so I was there about a year and a half. And we became pen pals, really. We wrote letters, and I think through that relationship of letters, we even became stronger friends. And he was very, very special to me. There were a couple of things that I remember that still influences my thinking and my writing. One thing is take your time, find the right text, because you really have to find something that feels just right, something that you want to set, and something that is extraordinary, something that a great piece of literature. Sometimes that makes or breaks a piece, I've found.
Yes.
Yes. And then the second thing maybe that he has helped me in a funny way. When I went to him, it was like 30 years ago, and there wasn't the Sibelius or the software where you can input music.
Sure. Yep.
So I had handwriting that wasn't so particular and wasn't so precise. It wasn't really what you want to send to singers. So he was very, very emphatic about making sure that the handwriting, as best I could portray what I was writing, thinking,
Yes.
And now, even in Sibelius, which I use now, which can make it look like a printed piece of music, which is wonderful for composers. I still have that in my mind, still make it as precise, as concise, as detailed. Give those dynamics really, really what you're thinking as much, and the tempos and pedaling, give everything that you can on the page so that the performer has really a strong idea of what you're thinking and how you're trying to express the poet's words.
Yes.
So those two things, I think, have always stayed with me. Because I think he knew how to work with singers and knew what they needed to sing and to be comfortable. So
yes,
and always his special friendship has always stayed with me throughout. He always said, if you love writing, keep writing. If it's satisfying, just keep working. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I'm sure those words have sustained you through, the writer's blocks and the all your life. That's just, what a beautiful relationship. And thank you again so much that's just such a moving story, Juliana. I'm really touched that you were comfortable sharing that with us today. think that he is just such an important composer, such an important American composer. And for those of you watching, we'll put some links in there to some things in YouTube. My favorite is I know it's very predictable, but the song cycle that he wrote for Janet Baker, The Diary of
Oh,
Virginia Woolf, really informed me when I was in undergrad. That was part of it was part of my master's recital, and it largely has informed the work that I do now when I commission composers to set specific and primary source texts that I insist remain very true to the text. And the reason that I knew that that would work is because of the experience of that cycle and how that brought Virginia Woolf's words to life in such a real and impactful way. And so again, when I read in your bio that you had worked with him, I just thought, oh, that what a legacy. We have to know more. So thank you for sharing that. Truly, it really means a lot. Dominick Argento really gave you that advice that truly seek out, spend that time. It's a very worthy investment of your time to seek out the right text. Do you have a personal system or strategy for how you go about researching and selecting?
various ways, really. But I have at home, you probably can see that, uh, probably about 200 books of poetry that my own little library that I've just accumulated through the years of reading. So just a lot of it is just reading and getting to know poets, and sometimes reading to see what poets write about themselves.
Oh,
And,
sure.
that brings you into another world of their own. Sometimes my husband, who also loves poetry, and I discuss things, and, it's always great to have a friend to think about, talk about things with.
Yes.
So, we have fun doing that. Sometimes, oh yes, sometimes, sometimes you just have to be open, and something will come to mind. Well,
Mhm.
I was looking for a subject for a monodrama, and I was David and I, my husband, had talked about it and talked about it, and I had a librettist and everything, and a wonderful singer, but I hadn't had the subject yet.
Mm.
But I just kept thinking and thinking, and then I had this neat, kind of interesting night. I was asleep, and then at 3 o'clock, Ahab came to mind. And I mean, really, I thought, wow, what a title, what a name to come to mind. Oh my goodness, is this something? And I ran downstairs. David was still downstairs, and I said, "It's Ahab. It's Ahab." And he said, "What?" I said, "What do you think? What do you think?" And it worked. So sometimes it's listening and being open, because things come to you. And that's, I think, from reading a lot too. You've kind of been in that world, and things, ideas kind of pass through, and so all kinds of ways, really.
That's lovely. And of course, good for you. You knew better than to let that idea slip you by. And, oh, I'll remember it in the morning. Not a chance.
No, no.
When you get it, yes. Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a very it's kind of spiritual. It's kind of a mystery, and that's what makes it interesting. Is
Sure.
this, yeah, being apart and being aware.
Yes. Well, and it keeps you so young, doesn't it? Because you're
Oh,
in that perpetual state of learning and of remaining open and receiving new information and new works and new art from all over, from
oh,
every place. So, oh,
yes.
wonderful. Oh, I just love that process. Thank you. That's great.
Sure.
So I think now would be a wonderful time to turn more specifically to the song that we'll be featuring today, which is To Mother, which is actually not a piece of poetry as much as it is an actual letter that Edna St. Vincent Millay wrote to her mother. Before we get into that specific song, this song is part of a larger cycle that you've composed, Letters to Edna. And I'd love to know a little bit about how that cycle came to be, your inspiration for that work.
It's funny, it brings back such a nice memory. We were back in New Haven again, and I had already set a couple of Edna's poems, so I knew her, but not real well, but I did know who she was, and I loved the poems that I had set. But I was walking around and noticed this rare bookshop, and we walked in, and we always kind of looking around to see if anything is there. And all of a sudden we were looking in the poetry section, and there was this beautiful book of Edna St. Vincent Millay letters. It was one of those moments again where something pulled me to her. I was in that bookstore and I noticed this blue book, and it looked so beautiful, and it was Edna's letters. So I opened them up and saw all these amazing letters written so beautifully, again, to all of her friends and family. And I thought, wow, I would love to know what she has experienced, who she is a little bit stronger, her personality, because her personality is so alive and vivid in these letters. So I took them home and then got to kind of know her a bit. And I remember reading through and thinking, oh my goodness, she's had some of the experiences that I have. We were both in New York around the same time, at our same ages, around 20s or something. Very excited, all wanting to experience everything. We even went to the same church, Madison Avenue Presbyterian Church. When she said that, I was like, oh yes, that's where I went to. And, I just felt such a closeness to her. But how I chose the specific poems, aside from that, are just, I wanted to tell about a little bit about who was important in her life, her mother, her friend, her publishers, and her sister, just like a little journey through her experiences. And again, to tell the story with a lot of variety. And because I think she wrote to so many different people, that she made that very easily possible. So that's her story.
Oh, I love it. And the cycle is just beautiful. And the way, again, yes, exactly as you've said, that you go through all of these different relationships that she had, and each one just opens a new facet of her to the audience. And it's just such a lovely way to get to know such a wonderful figure in American literature. So, I just love it. And we will put a link into the chat box here for all of you to see and to be able to go experience Juliana's cycle more fully. And let's turn now specifically to the piece from the cycle that we'll be doing today, to Mother. And from what you were saying earlier about the relationship with your own mother, Juliana, and with the piano, and that you shared that, that early time with your piano instruction with her. Talk to us a little bit, now that we've explored this cycle and we've got a little bit more context, how your own relationship with your mother influenced the way that you set about composing this song.
I thought of this piece as a love song, Edna to her mother. It's very, very tender, very affectionate, very loving, more tonal maybe than some of my music, very, very lyrical, in little episodes. I imagined Edna sitting at her desk thinking, oh, I love my mother this way. And then another, oh, I was telling somebody yesterday how you encouraged my poetry. I wouldn't be a poet without you. Or, some parents have trouble, but there are little episodes of all these different colors of how she's expressing her love to her mother. And at the very end, anybody reading this would think I was writing to my sweetheart, and they would be quite right. And so I had all of this love and warmth from Edna to her mother in my mind as I approached this piece.
That's lovely. And that you really had that experience with your own mother makes that so genuine in the way that you
Oh,
were able to express that compositionally. What a, it's just beautiful. So before I present the performance of this song for everyone, Juliana, if you would do us the honor of reading this text, I would so greatly appreciate it.
sure. Let's see. To Mother. Do you know, almost all people love their mothers, but I have never met anybody in my life, I think, who loved his mother as much as I love you. I don't believe there ever was anybody who did quite so much and quite in so many wonderful ways. I was telling somebody yesterday that the reason I am a poet is entirely because you wanted me to be and intended I should be, even from the very first. You brought me up in the tradition of poetry, and everything I did, you encouraged. Some parents of children that are different have so much to reproach themselves with, but not you, Great Spirit. If I didn't keep calling you mother, anybody reading this would think I was writing to my sweetheart, and he would be quite right. Well, dear, this is enough for now. I will write again soon.
Thank you. That was so lovely. We can all hear that love just flowing from you so in such a real way. Thank you so much for sharing that. And
Oh,
now it is my honor to present for all of you To Mother from Letters from Edna by Juliana Hall with text by Edna St. Vincent Millay.
Do you know, almost all people love their mothers, but I have never met anybody in my life, I think, who loved his mother as much as I love you. I don't believe there ever was anybody who did quite so much, and quite in so many wonderful ways. I was telling somebody yesterday that the reason I am a poet is entirely because you wanted me to be and intended I should be, even from the very first. You brought me up in the tradition of poetry, and everything I did you encouraged. Some parents of children that are different have so much to reproach themselves with, but not you, Great Spirit. If I didn't keep calling you mother, anybody reading this would think I was writing to my sweetheart, and he would be quite right. Well, dear, this is enough for now. I will write again soon.
Juliana, thank you again so much for the opportunity to sing such a wonderfully beautiful composition. That was a wonderful experience for me.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And thank you so much for singing it so, so beautifully.
Oh, thank you. That really means the world. Well, let's talk a little bit as we close our interview today. The world of classical music, of art song, opera, can seem so increasingly, lack of a better word, almost, irrelevant or out of touch in our ever-changing and ever-modernizing world. I would love to know, as you have continued to pursue this wonderful endeavor of composition, specifically art song composition, how have you felt that remains relevant and remains something that's important for us within this modern world?
I think art song speaks to everyone always. And it's timeless, I believe. Um, there are things that change, but there are some things in life that doesn't change,
Mm-hmm.
such as we all are in a time journey.
Yes.
Poets speak of time. Poets speak of love. We all have relationships with each other. That won't change. That's our human experience, our human endeavor to understand and to feel our connection with each other. Death, searching for what's unknown. Poets speak of this. This kind of writing and this kind of little world, tiny little world, an intimate world we need. We need to connect with each other through this world.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine having a life that, even with all of the external things that are changing and constant and quick,
Mm-hmm.
losing that, I think we would be very, very sad. And I don't think our human kindness will will allow that. I think art song will be around always. And I think it's love that also brings it together, love and just all of the searching that is in this little world
Mm-hmm.
and in our human endeavors. And so I think we won't have to worry about that, it being gone. I think it will always be relevant.
Well, certainly, if you have anything to say about it, I would agree, because not only do you write so beautifully with your compositions, but that was about the best argument in favor of the legitimacy and the lasting importance of art song that I think I would ever imagine being able to hear. And I think really, too, you went beyond answering that question, and it's not only how is it relevant, but it's that it's been never more important than right now. And it will never continue to be more important as the technology, as these things continue to develop. We will have that need so much more exponentially to retain our humanity. And we do that in such a profound and lasting way through that literature, which I feel is elevated through that marrying with the music. So I could not agree with you more. And you have given me hope that, others will too. And who knows what the future holds, but certainly I could imagine, as we continue into these new unknowns, that more and more people will hopefully take that step back and realize how badly we need the arts to retain that humanity. That's just wonderful. And I'm so glad that we have you and composers like you to make that happen. So thank you for the gift of you, Juliana, of your presence today. This has just been absolutely a delightful interview. I can't thank you enough. And gosh, I hope to have you back soon.
It's been really, really fun. It's so nice to meet you and so nice to talk and visit. And hope you have a really, really wonderful time. Good day today.
Thank you. You also. I truly appreciate that. And for those of you watching, this has been the Living Legacy series. We sure hope you've enjoyed it.